This video has spoilers. After Breath of the Wild, the Legend of Zelda franchise changed completely, gaining the Game of the Year in 2017 and selling way more than it used in the last few years. Gaining even a direct sequel with release date 2022. The fan base grew as new fans came. A lot of them don't know about the old games, but it's hard to never have heard of the so-talked Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Going back to 1998, one of the most important times in video game history, with Banjo-Kazooie, Metal Gear, Resident Evil 2, and the beginning of the 3D era, one of the biggest companies of the time, Nintendo, was starting with the Nintendo 64. On the other side, Sony, with their first console, entering the world of gaming with the PlayStation. Together with the consoles, a lot of amazing games came. In this year, big titles were released, and their history being remembered until this day as some of the best games ever made, and one of them is Zelda Ocarina of Time. Before we discuss how Zelda is incredible, it all began to the era. Everything started with The Legend of Zelda, the first title released in 1986, directed by Takashi Tezuka, which previous work involved Super Mario and Shigeru Miyamoto, just the guy who created Mario, and Big Yoshi. Everything in the game was simple. Just like its premise, you Link, a boy which looks like an elf but not really, that lives in the reign of Hyrule located in Minnesota. Your job is to aid the princess that was kidnapped by Ganon, the Prince of Darkness, that stole the Triforce of Power. The Triforce is a golden triangle made out of 3 minor golden triangles, geometry, which are divided in power, wisdom, and courage. The 3 of them together are able to give the user one wish. After stealing the power piece of the Triforce, Ganon surrounded everything in darkness and monsters. Zelda fearing for the worst, split the Triforce of Wisdom in 8 pieces to prevent my boy Ganon in taking it, then sends Impa, her old nursemaid without instructions or anything, to find someone courageous enough to be nosy and save everyone. But that obviously wouldn't work, but since it's a video game, it does, and Link's finds her and saves everybody. This game was a huge success. It was first released to the Family Computer Disk System. Well, Nintendo never had talent for names, she was incredible at choosing the worst. I think that didn't change until this day. We had the Wii, and the next one Wii U. Yeah, really creative. The Family Computer Disk System, in short Famicom Disk System, that didn't help. It was kind of an extension of the Famicom system that it created because of the floppy disks. Thanks to that, they had a lot more storage to deal with, making possible new types of game being released, as the open world ones. After a year, it was ported to the NES, Nintendo Entertainment System. See, another horrible name, that used cartridges as a storage, so much for the floppy disks. This was a really different game back there. Not as Metroidvania type of exploration game, but an open world one, where you would choose where to go with a camera upwards and not look into the sides, as a Metroidvania would do. Secret passages, powerful monsters, different type of gadgets, and a princess to save. One of the very first open world games would hit it big. Until this day, references are made such as It's Dangerous to Go Alone. Being famous as it was, of course, a sequel was granted. The game was so important that it became the model of exploration type of game. It was as Zelda was being a recipe of a cake. You just had to put the rest on it and everyone was doing it, except that Nintendo, the creator, didn't. Well, good job, Nintendo. The reason why Nintendo didn't follow its own formula was Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Ugh. Well, the game doesn't have legend in its title, so I already know something is wrong. Think about everything the first game did right. The dungeons, the enemies, even the camera. Now, throw everything away. Okay, now we have Zelda 2. I am being overdramatic, I know, but 90% of people who actually play it didn't like it. Now, Shigeru being the producer and Tezuka not having a major role, the one who took the job as a director this time was Tadashi Sugiyama. And before you say he is bad, I don't really blame him. This was the second game after the success the first was. They made basically a revolutionary game. They had a choice to do the same thing over again or try to surpass it and do something better. The thing is, they were mistaken to think that Zelda 2 would be better. After the Adventure of Link, Nintendo started to focus on other franchises and left Zelda in the fridge for 4 years. Today, it's completely normal to a game to take so much time to come out, at least if the game is going to actually be playable, but in 87, waiting so much wasn't really necessary. Of course, that also happened because the second game was kinda shitty, but in 91, it came one of the Zeldas that would be remembered until this day as one of the best games to ever come out, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. If Castlevania Symphony of the Night was the Mozart of Metroidvania, and Mario was the Mona Lisa of adventure-type games, A Link to the Past is the toilet for a powerful diarrhea. I'm sorry, that was a horrible example, but you get what I mean. This game took everything the first one made right, and a lot of things that are part of Zelda franchise first appeared on this game. The hookshot, the spin attack, hot containers, the Teal side quest. Now things seem more alive. Many people believe that what made Zelda what it is today was Ocarina of Time, but for me, was A Link to the Past. In this game, stuff that I use today as identity for the franchise started here. It goes like this: A Link to the Past started it, and Ocarina perfected it. In that story, the things were kept simple. Zelda was imprisoned in the castle dungeons by a wizard called Aganin, hard name, and calls Link and his uncle using telepathy, because apparently you can do this if you're a princess. His uncle tries to be the main hero and goes alone to the rescue, but we all know that we have Link in the title and the uncle. Link follows him to find the dude half dead in the sewers of the castle. Link, not giving two shits about his uncle, he steals his sword and shield from his corpse and goes to the rescue of the princess, because the woman is more important. You rescue her in the very first hour of the game. Well, that was fast, but the game it isn't over. You hear that Aganin is actually trying to bring back Ganon from the Dark World, which was the second helm before he went there. Ganon wants to use the Triforce, again, to be the ruler of the world. Well, seeing the situation in the Dark World, we can see that he isn't capable of living with greenery and butterflies, so now you have to stop him because you don't have anything better to do. Link has to get 3 pendants from 3 dungeons so he can pull the Master Sword, the only weapon capable of defeating Aganin and Ganon. After you get the sword, Link is sent to the Dark World with Zelda, and he has to save 7 maidens, which are the descendants of the 7 sages who sent Ganon to the Dark World. You have to save them before you can finish him off. Also, things in the Dark World are hard, because you're not used to the map, where everything is different and enemies deals twice the damage. Like that, you travel through the 2 worlds in order to finish the game, taking different items that goes from bow and arrow to a bottle. The bottles are one of the most useful items in the game, and I'm not even kidding. The game was a huge success, making Nintendo proud of Shigeru Miyamoto, who created the 2 biggest hits in the company, if we do not count all the other games that he helped to make, and also Star Fox and Donkey Kong. They were really happy with everything going on. It made so well that they started a magazine for Zelda, and the North America release featured the limited golden cartridge version. I can only imagine how much this thing can be sold for today. Also, was the first time a Blue Ocarina was introduced. Nintendo learned the lesson that actually doing what works won't kill you, and you can try new things, as long the essence is still there. I'm looking at you, Assassin's Creed. With the previous game going so well, the 4th one came on 93, A Link's Awakening, that had a remake in 2019. The game was basically a portable version of A Link to the Past, but also completely different story-wise. No Hyrule, no Zelda, I mean, who cares about the lady in the title anyway? Link's Awakening is the castaway version of Zelda. Link tries to seal off a poor boat, and of course, it doesn't work, and ends up stranding on the Koholit Island, and your entire quest is to wake up a lazy flying fish with a cool music, the Ballad of the Windfish, to be able to go home. This game is kind of dark and bittersweet. The first Zelda to be like that, it doesn't scare you, make you feel anxious or anything like this, but it does make you feel like you lost something when it ends. But also, the last dungeon is a pain in the ass. Well, this game is good, but it's also mean, and Seagull apparently can sing it, and song hurts my soul now. Time was passing and a new generation was coming. It was time for the 3D. Video games had an evolution where everything started at 8 bits, bits being one of the basic computer language, used to describe the processor storage type, going from 16 bits, 32, and finally 64. The Nintendo 64 had this name because of its 64-bit processor capacity. With that, was possible a new terrain, never explored before. There, it starts a new type of console with a completely different Zelda. In 1998, it finally came, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, with a different approach. What is this game? Why isn't it in 3D? What the heck is an ocarina? I mean, the game was so popular and the instrument was so important that the sales of the ocarinas skyrocketed after Ocarina of Time was released. Nobody knew what it was before this game. Being honest, in 1998, things weren't going so smoothly for Nintendo no more. Now they had a competitor, Sony, with the new console, also Sega with the Sega Saturn, but we don't talk about this one, the PlayStation with a disc storage type, which was way superior to the cartridges Nintendo used at the time. Because of that, and some discussion, they end up losing some of the most important series they had, like Final Fantasy. In the next game, Final Fantasy VII haven't been a big hit for Sony. After so many games, the creator Shigeru Miyamoto decided it was for the best to step down and focus on other games, like the upcoming Mario 64, and passing the director's role to a lot of new people, in those including one of the most important people in the Zelda franchise for the future, Eiji Aonuma. Well, I said that Shigeru left to work on Mario 64, but after leaving, nobody knew how to do anything. They even considered doing Ocarina just like Mario 64, inside Ganon Castle while you have to go through paintings that would take you into different maps. They even thought of calling the game Zelda 64. It almost became a Mario 64 Zelda ripoff, but after seeing how this would become a complete and utter shit, Shigeru had to go back as a producer to at least prevent the game of becoming a failure. With more than 300 people and a lot of directors, and with the help of Shigeru Miyamoto, everybody reunited to do something incredible, new, and in 3D, even using motion capture for attack types and cutscenes, something never seen before, and like that, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time was born. Starting with an opening that would be one of the few things in the world that would make me feel extremely nostalgic, enough to make a grown man cry. In the menu, you have to select a profile and name your character. Let me state here that everyone that chooses any other name besides Link is committing a crime and it is a psycho. That's why I always go with S-Eater. In the game, you are woken up by an extremely annoying fairy, Navi, which serves as your partner in the game, so you can simply aim. The people that worked in the game simply said that they put her in the game so the target would not be too simple. And Navi comes from navigation, a useless one, let me say. She says you're being summoned by the Deku Tree, a tree that is the great spirit of the forest, where the Kokiri lives, the children that never grow. To go there, you have to pass through the game's tutorial to get a sword and shield, or this little shit won't let you pass. And I have to say, a game from 1998 knows how to do a non-intrusive tutorial better than a 2021 game. Well, the hints are in some boards, and you read it if you need it, but all my compliments for the game tutorials are gone when Navi opens her mouth. After getting everything, you can see the tree and discovers the shocking truth. She has 2 mustaches. I don't know why. And also she has been cursed by some dude and you have to kill the curse and also kill her in the process. Really sad. The first dungeon is not hard at all. You just need some common sense to know that gravity exists and this thing by the entrance is a cobweb. The whole place is basically the game teaching you how things works. At least in a non-bothersome way. After killing your stepfather, you get a green stone and go all the way to the castle. You meet Zelda and discover that an evil man with a long nose and name, Ganondorf, is plotting something bad, and nobody believes her because she saw all of that in a dream. Of course nobody believes her. She tells you to get another 2 stones to open the door of the Sacred Helm, where you can get the Triforce and kill a dude. This is the beginning of the open world in video games. The mountain that you could see after you leave the forest and pretty much appears everywhere you go, you can actually go there and climb it. Before you go to the mountains, you visit Kakariko village, where you get to see the neighbor town of the Hyrule town. This place makes me feel like I am at the countryside, even more with the music that plays in here. Or maybe it's the amount of chickens all over the place that the useless owner decided to take care of chickens even though she has an allergy. In here, you can meet some important people for the main quest, side quest, and the Skulltulas house, where you get rewards for getting golden Skulltulas scattered around the map. There are 100 in total, but you don't have to get all of them, just 50, because the last prize requires you to take 50 more pieces, and it isn't worth it at all, believe me. The other collectibles are the pieces of hearts. Getting 4 pieces of heart, you are able to get another heart for your HP. There are 36 in total. I don't even need to say that they are useful, do I? Other than that, you just have to collect a lot of dollars. After that, they make an amazing decision to let a kid that is, I don't know, 11 years old to scale a mountain and take a stone from a different race all alone. Good thing, they don't even tell you to get a better shield. The second dungeon is completely different from the first. The Dodongo's Cavern is where the real challenge begins. I mean, you actually can get lost in here. The dungeon is divided in two different parts. The outside, with 2 floors, everywhere is full of bats on fire that will burn your shield if you don't protect yourself. After getting the temple item, you go to the most inner part, where you face the boss, a giant dinosaur, the only boss with a different music in the whole game, but it isn't that hard. The third and last one, in Zora's domain, is the most interesting. You have to rescue the princess of the fish people inside this other fish. What is this problem of these people making a kid do all this stuff? The way the inner part of this fish works is something made of Leonardo da Vinci. The fish has more mechanism inside of him than a computer has. In this place, you have to carry around the Zora princess everywhere because she's too much of a hassle to even walk. When she got abducted, I cried in joy because I thought that she would die there. After you killed the jellyfish boss, I saw that was wrong, sadly. When I finished everything as a kid, I thought, well, that was simple speedrun GG easy, besides the game not being easy and having its challenges, except for the bosses. On this game, they are really challenging, different from the previous one, which the bosses were kind of a pain in the ass. Anyway, getting to the castle to give Zelda the stones, you arrived too late, as you see Zelda and her babysitter Impa fleeing from the castle, as Ganon killed everyone from the royal family. Zelda throws at you a blue ocarina as she leaves. You have a little car of Ganon so the cutscene can show you, well, he is strong. After taking the ocarina and using the stones at the church with cool music, you open the door of time to find there is sleeping the Master Sword. After you pull it, it was actually the key to the secret helm, where Ganon follows you just to acquire the Triforce. But because he has a bad heart, the Triforce splits into 3 and Ganon gets holds of the power one, giving him enough strength to take over the kingdom of Hyrule to himself. Zelda explains to you how the Triforce works when she explained the story of how the 3 Oscar goddesses made the world. Even though you got the powerful Master Sword, which is worse than the Big Goron Sword, aka the best sword in the game, you can't use it because you're a stinky little boy. For that reason, the sword traps you in the secret realm for 7 years, forcing you to grow into an adult. Dude, Link has earrings now. How cool is that, alternative boy? After that, the Sage of Light tells you everything went downhill in those 7 years, and now you have to find the other 5 sages in order to defeat Ganon and bring everything to normal. And he makes sure to say this in an awful long conversation. After you come back, you find a boy named Shake, which job will be teaching you the warp songs that will work as fast travel through the map. With that, your real adventure begins. You have to travel back and forth through time in order to save the kingdom. When you get out of the temple, you'll find the citadel of the castle completely ruined and gloomy, full of redads, where people should be. This thing terrified me when I was younger. It is kind of fun to see how everything ended up in those 7 years, and discovering that there is also some people who died. You have to go into a temple in the maze forest. The forest temple is basically an old castle in the middle of the forest. In every temple you have a mechanic to do in order to proceed. In the first one, you have to take the ghosts and take back the flames that they stole so you can use a lift to the boss. Also, remember what I said about Mario 64 and paintings? Well, that idea goes into here. You have to take them out of the paintings through the dungeon with a bow, which looks like Mario 64 where everything is based off paintings, and the boss of the place is a copy of Ganon that travels through paintings. That is also why every temple has a meaning in why they exist and why they are where they are. The forest temple, many believe that was supposed to be the wind temple, but for me, it was here where Ganon Castle Fist was supposed to be. After that, you go inside of a volcano in order to save an entire race, the Gorons. I think I forgot to say, in Ocarina of Time there are 5 different races living through the kingdom of Hyrule. The Hylians, they are basically normal people but with pointy ears, just like elves. The Gorons, brown giant people who eat rocks and can roll around. They have high resistance to fire and value strength and courage. Also, they are kind of stupid. The Kokiri's, they live in the forest, are accompanied by fairies and they never grow, as are a Peter Pan version. The Zoras, my favorite, they are fish people who can breathe underwater and also are very proud. I don't know, I just find something about these fish people cool. And for the last, the Gerudos, Amazon type tribe where every member are women that together makes a band of bandits, which a man is born in every 1000 years, and when they are born they usually becomes the king of the tribe, the actual king being Ganondorf, but that doesn't mean that they all like him. Nabu Boru something. The second Emperor actually hates Ganondorf, labeling him as a cruel man. There are other races in the game, but for Ocarina, that's it. In the Fire Temple, you have to rescue the Gorons that live inside of the mountains, because they refused serving Ganon. They are sent to the temple where Ganon revives the dragon inside there that eats Gorons to feed the Gorons to it, and you feed it a hammer. This temple is tricky, with one of the very first rooms having a floor full of lava with little space to walk on and platforms that spits fire to move around. I mean, just look on the face of the platforms. You can see clearly that the troll face was a Nintendo invention. Also, this temple was censored in the 1.2 version of the cartridge. In the original, the temple BGM included some Muslim religious chanting and blood all over the game. All of that was removed afterwards. I would show you the difference in the music, but I'd rather not. This is YouTube, you never know. Then you go to a frozen kingdom where the Zora lives, to see that until 7 years everything froze and the lake portion of the kingdom is almost empty, with the infamous water temple, where you have to higher and lower the water level all the time, until you notice that you forgot to take one single key and you have to backtrack everything. I both love and hate this place, but this is where the coolest mini-boss is, Dark Link. With a well-thought and complicated coding that mimics your attacks, the developers did so much to him that he is able to use abilities never seen in the game, like him swimming. And the easiest way to beat him is the big Goron sword, aka the best sword in the game, which you can just crouch and attack him like an asshole. Or if you don't have the sword, just Z-target and stop targeting him while you attack. That will be able to hit him, or you can use the hammer that you just got in the Fire Temple. That feels more like an actual boss, because the boss of the place is just a ball that makes water tentacles and tries to shoot a hentai with Link. After that, 2 more to go. You can choose if you want to go to the Shadow one or Spirit one first. I always go to the Shadow one because of the cutscene that happens after you enter Kakariko Village. It doesn't really matter which one you want to do. You actually have to pass through the creepy well while you're a child, so you can get the item necessary to complete the other 2 dungeons. One behind the cemetery, the Shadow one, that I personally don't find it really amusing like the other ones. It does not have a different mechanic that you have to go through or anything. The only thing different here are a lot of annoying fake walls. Besides that, you just have to keep going forward until you reach the boss, which at least is a fun one. That being said, it is one of the best temples because of its background and for the stories that the fake walls tells you. This place was before a temple constructed by the Sheikah, the same family that serves the royal family of Hyrule. There, the Sheikah used to throw everyone that had something against the royal family, and also people from the Civil War, same war that killed Link's parents in the past. All the chambers with blood and the redads are basically the past of the people that died there, to show us that there is a dark story in the kingdom, and the royal family aren't saints. That alone made me love the Shadow Temple. Also, the temple team has bongos playing in it, while the boss is Bongo Bongo, and the platform that you fight it looks like a bongo. There's a lot of bongos everywhere. The second one, and my favorite, it even has my favorite warp song. Inside of a place that reminds a pyramid in the middle of the desert. To get there, you have to sneak around a bunch of women just to free their prisoners, beat them up, and become one of them. Travel through a desert, learn a song, go back in time, and return there first as a child. You have to go there and complete the first 40% to take the first temple item, and later, as an adult, to do the other 60% and take the second temple item. Here, you have 2 items to take. This place is a nice mix between challenging but not to the point of being frustrating and cool. If in your opinion you think, I don't know, the Forest Temple is the best one and not the Spirit one, well sorry, but you're wrong. When I was a child, playing this game was like I was playing Dungeons and Dragons 3D version. It was amazing, having to do the place in 2 different times and also all the gimmicks with the mirror shield, and let me talk about the giant lady statue with the grappling hook titties. Yeah, Nintendo, I see what you've done here. After all that, you're set to go to Ganon Castle. The princess, after revealing herself, was captured by Ganon. All your efforts, all your trials, the sages that you have to save now united to create a bridge to the castle. Yes, 5 dungeons to create a bridge. They even said that the sage's powers was added to yours by this medallion. While that was a lie, the medallions don't do shit. In the Ganon Castle, you have to go through 6 chambers that represent each sages that you have to free in order to destroy the barrier that stops you from going forward. Climb a lot of stairs as the music goes louder when you get close to the top. Say what you want, but this part is pretty cool. Up there you find a man playing piano with one of his hands closed without using his fingers. What can I say? The dude is awesome. Because of evil useless powers, you can't use Navi to help to target him, but it doesn't matter. Now is the final fight, the deadly tennis with the most powerful item you have, the bottle. After you beat him, all the castle goes down as he appears again as a giant Pumbaa throwing your sword away. And now, without the Master Sword, you have a problem. Except if you have a big Goron sword, aka the best sword in the game, you're fine. You beat him, seal him, he curses you. After that, Zelda sends you home creating 3 different timelines. One is the child one, the place 7 years ago, the future 7 years after without Link because you came back, and the other one if you don't have the big Goron sword and actually lose to Ganon, putting other games in the timeline. But the child one, the one that Link comes back home, he tells Zelda about the future, and for some reason, the royal family doesn't believe in her when she tells that she saw Ganon was a bad man in her dreams, but believes in her talking about what will happen in the future because this boy using strange clothes said so. Okay, but now, nobody knows your deed, nobody knows what you have been through to save the whole kingdom, just one thing. Navi, who saw everything with her own eyes, and now is gone. I mean, I don't know if Navi has eyes. Well, good thing, because of that now we have Majora's, and I didn't talk about this the whole video, but I couldn't deal with her anymore. Good thing she is gone. If you look at this with another eyes, you can say that this game is a big loss to Link. He loses his childhood, his time, his effort for a destiny that he didn't even choose. It was imposed to him because of a big tree said so, and in the end, after everything you've done, your glory is taken away and you become a nobody, with your youth back but no recognized for anything you did. It's kind of dark. In this game, you have a magical instrument which songs are powerful enough to change the weather around you. One beautiful song that you obtain through a time paradox makes it rain. Another one really useful makes the day pass. It was here that Zelda Lullaby was born, and many other iconic songs. Kenji Kondo, the dude who made the soundtracks, is amazing. You have to do not just the location songs, but the ones you play on Ocarina, and actually nail that, it's nuts. You pass around so many different places with different dungeons, collectibles and races. It is almost unbelievable that this game was made with so low space on Nintendo 64 cartridges. It is stated that before, they even thought of making this game in first person, to give a better option to see the world, but Shigeru Miyamoto changed his mind when they thought of making Link both child and adult, traveling through time. Well, good thing they did. Imagine 1998, when this came out. You had nothing close to this. Maybe close to it in story, but not in gameplay. Until this day, I do still think there are things that Ocarina did that nobody did it better. The dungeons being an example of that. For that reason alone, is already a lot of reason to play it. Hell, just because of the things Ocarina of Time started is already enough reasons. Things that were used in Majora's, Twilight, or even Breath of the Wild. This game feels alive. It just has something really satisfying seeing Link grow and start running around taking heart pieces and doing the tempos. The only thing that you really can identify in this game as a Nintendo 64 game is the graphics. If you improve them a lot, it could easily be released nowadays, except for the Switch version, which is completely bad up nice, but okay. Also the aim is kinda shitty. It makes me happy to see how far the series has come. In each game after this, they all feel different, but you can still call it Zelda. Just how in Wind Waker is covering the water, Majora's you have all the masks that changes your gameplay, and so on and so forth. And I can't wait to see what the sequel of Breath of the Wild will be. To just conclude, this game is awesome. Sorry for this awful long video. Thank you for watching, and bye bye.